introduce our guest speaker. Okay, welcome everyone to the Phishing Net presented by Phin Security. My name is Andrew, and I'm very excited to introduce a special guest that we have. So we have Tanner from our content team. Tanner is a rock star. He's awesome. And he's going to be going through some of our content updates that we have for the platform. There's a lot to get to. So Tanner, I will turn it right over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Hope everybody can hear me okay and see my screen. Right now, you should just be seeing the Phishing Net starting screen on the where I'm sharing. And a little bit more background on me. I've been with the company for about a year and a half, a little bit more than that. I started out as our main content developer. Essentially, they just needed Phin needed someone who was well equipped to develop emails, and I came from that industry for about 7 years of understanding how emails are developed, how to optimize them so they end up in every type of inbox, from Gmail to Outlook to Hotmail. And so I went from there to joining this company, and now starting to, or at the time, started to build phishing emails for simulation purposes, obviously, so that Phin could deliver to phishing simulations. And that's still what I do today. But the other thing I do is I manage our training content, our relationships with the partners that we have. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about what I do and what Phin has done over the last year to improve that experience for everybody. So we'll dive right into it. Bear with me. So we move to our platform. So you're looking at our platform, or you should be seeing our platform right now. I'm going to start talking through or moving through the platform as I talk about some of these updates. And what I wanted to start with is that we have this year, what's happened with content so far. So this year we have added so far 30 new phishing templates, over 30 new phishing templates. You'll find those in our template library. So if you navigate in our platform phishing template library and then into default templates, you'll see that there are now 100 phishing templates in here, ranging from technology focused ones to BEC, business email compromise focused ones, to something like Amazon scammer warning, and then they're split out by tags, notification giveaway, things like that. And so you can, if let's say, for instance, you were curious about, do we have anything mimicking some of the CrowdStrike attacks that happened, when that issue occurred earlier this year. Cyber criminals jumped at the opportunity to use that as a way to trick people into feeling a sense of urgency when they got a CrowdStrike email in their inbox. And so if you actually go in here, you can go and you'll see that there are 3 CrowdStrike focused emails in here that you can now distribute to your own users, to see if people are if this still causes a sense of urgency in them to click. And so so we have a bunch of new phishing templates in here. I am going to dive a little bit more into how you can create your own phishing templates using our template builder, which is right here. I'm going to back out of this because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But this tool is actually how I upload and build all of our phishing templates today. So I'd like to walk through and provide a step-by-step guide to building your own phishing templates, if that's something that you'd like to use Phin to do. Before I get to that, though, I want to talk through some training platform updates, training content updates. So if you navigate to our training section and then to library, you'll see our full catalog. We have 6 providers right now. We have Goldfish, CFISA, which is the Center for Internet Security Awareness, OWASP, Social Proof, Ningio, and Habituate. And then you can break these down by our, I believe, 15 topics, and we're looking to add more topics in the future later this year and next year. And so if you were to go in here, you can search, by course topic. So I've gone to information security. Seeing, here you'll be able to navigate through all the information security course topics that we have, and then you can break it down further. Let's say I just want to see Ninjio and I want to build a campaign off of this. You can see just what we have to offer from Ninjio that is related to information security. And so I've got 4 big training content updates for you so far this year. The first one is the addition of OWASP into the platform. So one of the things that we heard from partners was that they wanted training that was specific to more technical folks at their companies. And so OWASP is an organization that is trusted around the world with a collaboration process, talking to the community, cybersecurity community. They work over the course of years to develop what is a top 10 that they've identified as the threats that security developers and more technical folks who are working in platforms and systems that require, being in the nitty gritty of the code and developing platforms, what they should be aware of. So we now have an OWASP top 10 course topic, that you'll see here. And these are developer focused, for lack of a better term. Then we also have, if you wanted to, say you have a development team and you want to dish this out immediately after seeing this to a set of users within the platform, you'd be able to do that by starting a campaign, navigating to, you'd fill out the information here for a fixed campaign type, move through your audience, find the department. Maybe you have the department in here that is IT or some other technically focused department that you want to take this training. And then you move to curriculum, and we actually have, you just find it here because we've added quite a few curriculums to help build. Let's see. Here we go. So now you could select this curriculum and in the order that they are meant to be delivered. So starting with a bit of an overview of what top 10 is, and then breaking through the control points of A01 through A10, you'd be able to schedule this and deliver it to the audience that you want to deliver it to without having to put that together and figure out like what order should they go in. So that's really exciting news. And you'll notice, I'm going to navigate back to library and show that one more time. You'll notice that the OWASP courses all say 2021. So like I mentioned, OWASP is developed, or this top 10 list is developed over the course of years and lots of collaboration. And so the last time that this was published by the OWASP organization was in 2021. The next time that they plan on releasing anything related to updating their top 10 list is 2025. So come January 2025, I'm going to be on the lookout for what OWASP releases. That's not a guarantee that they will release it in January 2025, but that is the closest date that they've given. Previously, it was September 2024, and they did move it back. So we'll see if that happens again, but hopefully not. And I am planning to get a new curriculum and new courses built so we can move that out to our partners as soon as possible. So that is all I have for OWASP. Another exciting development in terms of training content, if you hadn't heard, back in July, the beginning of July, we onboarded Social Proof. And Social Proof is one of 3, technically 2, but one of 3 of our providers that their courses are live action as opposed to animated, which the majority of our content right now is animated content. So this is just a nice new format. All of the courses are short. They're all under 5 minutes, and they're all very relevant. Social Proof is a relatively new company in the space. So last few years, They've gotten really popular, and they make training courses that are, for lack of a better word, just fun. Um, each one of these, like I said, is short but very relevant to the types of threats that you would face in both a home environment, working from home, but also in the office. And so um, they we have onboarded 8 new spoken word courses, and then there are 8 or more music videos that Social Proof has that we have access to, but have yet to add onto the platform. And the reason for that, so that is that's coming soon. There isn't an official date on when those courses will be released, but that is going to come either later this year or early next year. The reason for the delay in onboarding these music videos is because we know that not everybody um, wants content that is in music video format um, to be synced into their continuous campaigns, and so we want to strike a balance of onboarding content um, quickly, but also making sure that we have tools in place that allow our partners to control what content comes into their continuous campaigns, because we know that some partners have audience bases that want to see a specific type of course material, and we don't want to create any more friction in those scenarios, and so more to come in terms of Social Proof and onboarding the music videos that they have to offer. I think they're a lot of fun. They're the reason that I chose to bring Social Proof into the Phin universe. And so I'm looking forward to eventually getting those courses onto the platform and getting feedback and seeing what people think. So now I am going to move on to Goldfish. Goldfish has been a long-standing partner of ours. We love their content. We've heard a lot of good things from our partners who love their content. And so this is to me, is the most exciting piece of content or content update that we've done so far, and that's the introduction of micro modules. So you can see right here on the left here is one of Goldfish's standard courses. It's 5 minutes, and then we've got a micro module. It takes less than a minute for someone to do, and so I'm going to preview that right here. There are 15 of these micro modules currently in the platform. We plan to add 45 more before 2025. So that'll be 60 in total. Essentially, you could create a weekly continuous campaign, or fixed or continuous campaign of micromodules, and those could run once a week for the rest of the year, and you wouldn't repeat any of the courses. Now, the other cool part about these, and so I'll try to navigate as I talk. The other cool part about these is I love how they are very like short snippets, a little bit of mix of text and imagery, but they all follow the same format of like, why does this thing matter? So in this one, for instance, we're talking about installing antivirus. Well, why does it matter, right? So if we move to the second page, gives us a short blurb about why it matters. Then it always moves into a description, so just adding a little bit more context to why it matters. And then personally, I think the best part is implementation. This isn't the best example of an implementation section in one of the micro modules. I will show another one just to show you what I mean. And so quick as that, right? Even with me talking and navigating this, it's probably just about 60 seconds to get through one of these. And the other part is this is the only type of content that Phin has on its platform that has no assessment. So for partners who want their audience to get quick, just keep cybersecurity top of mind, this is probably the best way or the most appropriate content to be able to drip through a campaign much more often without like slowing end users down, right? They take 60 seconds. They don't have any assessments. They're the exact same format every time, so people know what to expect. And they're usually pretty fun. Like they have a little bit of humor in them. So I'll I'll show another one real quick just to try and give you a better example. And another thing that's not coming yet, but will come hopefully fairly soon, is the ability um, to filter using these filters here. And so I plan on adding one that allows you to split up the content by micro module, by music video, by just standard video with assessments, so that you can search our catalog a little bit quicker. So let's take another look at one of these micro modules. So here we're talking about using password managers. Now again, why does this matter? Description to add a little bit more context, and then implementation. So most of the implementation sections of these micro modules are these like steppers here. And I think that's just great to, for an end user to actually understand a problem and get a guided step through of what they can do to implement this security practice. I think is a great, and to do it in under 60 seconds is even better. So that wraps up micro modules. And then the last big update that I wanted to mention in terms of content is about CFISA. So CFISA is one of our more traditional content partners. They've been around for a long time. They are the only content partner that that we work with that is certified by the state of Texas for their courses to be delivered to government employees specifically in the state of Texas. So there might be other states might have other requirements in terms of what what government employees need to take for cybersecurity purposes, for training purposes. But I add that context because it's helpful when you're trying to, as a partner, you're trying to understand like which of these courses is maybe a little bit more general, and which of these providers, sorry, I said courses, but I meant providers, speak to more general cybersecurity, and which of these providers speak to just a level of training that is more in depth and has the backing of a government agency, or the state of Texas, kind of signing off and saying like, hey, this level of training is what we require of government employees, and I think that sets a pretty high standard for what this training content can offer. So the update here is that CFISA is one of our longer form types of content training courses, but they've recently gone through a transformation to kind of modernize what used to be PowerPoint presentation like modules to now a video format. I can just jump into one of these to kind of show that. I'm not sure the audio will get picked up from this. And so actually this is who you're seeing here right now. I'm just going to pause this because I can hear it. This is Michael Levine. He's the owner and main operator of CFISA, and he is the one who kind of does the presentations through all of these courses. He's an expert in the space. And so that now all of the courses, rather than just being a presentation, are him speaking to the audience alongside, typical floating graphics and bullet points, so that you get the audio and the visual. And then each one of these, if we move through it, goes into an assessment. So that's just one of the smaller updates, but this set of content has been modernized, and I think they did a really good job. So I wanted to highlight it. And this is also a curriculum. So if you go into the campaigns again and you were to launch a fixed campaign, you could launch the entire training suite, which this training suite, the full training suite here, is the one that is accredited by the state of Texas for government agencies. And then we also have one for HIPAA specific. That's actually one of the new updates I forgot about in my notes, was that CFISA has released 4 HIPAA training courses. And so these are all short form training courses that build upon each other. Before, it used to be just one long form 40-minute course. Now these 40-minute courses, or what is now a 40-minute curriculum, is broken out into an introduction to HIPAA, HIPAA privacy rule, HIPAA security rule, and HIPAA security integrity safeguards and reporting, and they're each 10 minutes. So it kind of helps take what was maybe a training that was a little bit too long form for some, too much information to really want to pay attention, and now breaks those out into 4 different modules that you can deliver over the course of 4 weeks. You can deliver over the course of 4 months or 4 quarters, to try and drip that HIPAA training through the year and keep it top of mind. All right, so I've talked a lot about what has happened so far this year at Phin and content. And I want to talk a little bit, just really quick, about the things that I'm focused on for the rest of the year. So I mentioned so far 30 plus training or phishing templates have been added. I'm planning to build 25 new phishing templates through the rest of the year. I'm mainly going to focus on templates that mimic communications between department employees, things requesting like file access, information confirmation, system access requests rather. Another topic that I'm going to focus on is current events. So for instance, the CrowdStrike event happened, and I created CrowdStrike phishing templates. So I'm going to be on top of what's going on in the world that affects large amounts of people. What's been successful in terms of phishing attacks, and recreate simulations of those. I'm going to put a little bit more focus on that side of things than I have in the past. I sort of mentioned it at the part of the presentation where I was talking about training content. But what I plan to do is add a little bit more metadata to our course catalog. And what that's going to do eventually, this is something I'm going to focus on through the rest of the year, so that next year I can work with our engineering department to bring more control and flexibility to our partners. But I'm going to add more metadata to each of the courses, so that we're not just filtering on this page by provider and course topic, but you can filter by language, the format. Does it have closed captions? What's the industry that it focuses on? Excuse me. And so going to bring those filters to the course catalog, but not just the course catalog. The goal will be to bring those filters to the setup of campaigns. So now when you go through a continuous campaign, you pick by course topic. I want to give you the ability to choose what provider you want to include or exclude. What languages do you want to include or exclude? I mentioned course topic and the other pieces of metadata. Do you want to make sure that every course has closed captions? I want to give you that control. We want to give you that control. So those are things I'm going to be focused on adding to the database that all of this is pulled from, so that next year I can work with engineering to stand that up and give more flexibility and control to our partners. Let's see. So the last thing that I have, and probably one of the biggest updates, or one of the biggest parts of this whole presentation, and what will take up the majority of the rest of the time, is I mentioned that we have a phishing template builder. This tool is what I use to actually build phishing templates and upload them to our platform, and what get pulled into phishing campaigns. And so I thought it would be a good idea. We had limited documentation on this, so I've gone ahead and I can actually show this. Oh, I can show, so I've updated the documentation on how to create your own phishing templates. So a lot of these resources will be sent out after the presentation to folks on the call, and then provided anywhere else that we end up linking this presentation. But this is the main page, create custom phishing templates, and what it is a walkthrough both in video format and written steps of exactly what I do to create custom phishing templates and then add them to our platform and then test them prior to adding them to campaigns. So I've got a section here on building how I build them, which is externally building the HTML file and then uploading the HTML file to the Phin template builder, and then using the Phin template builder to kind of pull together the rest of the metadata that is used by the Phin platform to decide when a phishing template is appropriate for a campaign or not. And then I've got another section here that is a video tutorial on actually building emails with the template builder. The template builder has a WYSIWYG, and I'll show that. But what I'm mainly going to focus on is what I recommend as the way to build these phishing templates, which is to build them outside of the Phin platform and then upload them into the Phin platform. It's just the WYSIWYG tool had some known limitations, and so those are things we need to work on before I can actually recommend that as the better way to do this process. So I'm going to jump into how we do that, or how I do that rather. And just real quick, so here's a couple other folks have heard about building learning moments. Now there's an entire document on what are learning moments, how do you build them in an HTML file, and then again, a video presentation, as well as a section where you can actually copy the template that I start from every single time I build a phishing template, a simulated phishing template. You can copy the exact same file, or code rather, that I use to build these templates. So there's that about learning moments. And then the one other one that I wanted to highlight is injected fields. You may also have heard of injected fields. This is when a phishing template ends up in an end user's inbox and it says, "Hi, John Smith." Well, where did it get John Smith from? Well, those are injected fields that are doing that work. So users are, whether they're imported via the manual CSV upload, or whether you're using the Azure Sync integration that Phin has to pull your users from Outlook Azure into the Phin platform, we use user fields like first name, and I'll show all of that, but first name, last name, email, job title, things like that. We pull those values from those fields and inject them directly into phishing templates when they are rendered at send time. So phishing templates, sit in the background, just sit in our database, and then when it's time for a campaign to deliver a phishing template to a user, it's rendered at the time of send or just before the time of send. And so these user-specific injected fields, and we have two different types I can speak to, but that's where that information is pulled from. And if there is no value in that user field, we have default fields that end up filling the gap. Another known limitation that I need to work on is some of those default fields are missing, or some of the fields are missing default fields. So I'm still working on getting all of those updated. But the idea is that, if there is an injected field in a phishing template, it will be populated with some sort of value that is relevant to the specific user the phishing email ends up, whoever's inbox that ends up in. So we have user-specific injected fields here, and we have a long list of them. Even down to, we can, if you're using Azure, the Azure integration, we can see a field that is the last time someone changed their password. And so we can utilize that in a simulated phishing test. And then we've got things like contextual injected fields. That's current time, short dates. So we've got short dates, huge dates. And I tried to do my best to highlight, what would the sentence look like in a template before it's rendered, and then what does it look like after it's rendered. Excuse me. So that's mostly date and time fields that are pulled in. And then here, just highlighting again where the values for users pulled from. They're pulled from the user profile, essentially, that everybody gets when they're uploaded to the Phin platform. So now that I've created some context for, showed you the documents and created some context for what I'm talking about when I say building a phishing template, I'd like to actually go in and build one and show you this process. So I'm in a demo company, and you would navigate to phishing, the template library, and then create a new template. So let's name it Demo Template Plus. And so I chose email. We do have a text SMS version of the template builder where you can create text templates that get sent out. So if a user has their phone number is applied in their user profile, you can actually create a campaign that sends out text, but that's just not something I'm going to focus on right now. So what I've chosen is email. And after you choose email, you can see here that this is our template builder. I'm not going to get too much into the using the WYSIWYG, but I will just mention it here. You can see the different components here that allow you to build out a phishing template. So we've got text component, we've got an image component, link component, and the most important component we have here is a learning moment. That's what allows you to apply your own what are called data hints and data intros. So as an end user, if they click on a phishing template and they go, they go into their LMS to do a learning moment, that's what actually builds the steps that walk them through, the hints that that represent how they could have spotted this as a phishing simulation earlier. And then some other things here. We've got settings. We've got nothing showing up right now because I guess I could do that to show what these different sections do. So I just added a section here. Said I wasn't going to do this. Now look at me, I'm doing it. So you could insert some text here. Hey, there's name. So I'm not going to go much further than that, but hey, first name, last name. Now if I wanted to apply a learning moment on here, the text says learning moment. I would go into my settings while having the learning moment selected. And now you can see here there's a data hint and a data intro. And that's what I mentioned about building these steps that walk through the template to show the user, in this one, I might say in relation to this first line, hey, first name, last name. So it's going to pull in, hey, John Smith. Maybe I might say something about, just because there's personalization in an email, you see that someone is referenced you by name does not necessarily mean that it's a legitimate email. Unfortunately, with the state of things today, cyber criminals have essentially, have gotten compromised credentials and information, PII, in cyber attacks. And so that has led to more and more information being available to them and being able to use that to both create like a personal touch to these phishing emails that we get today, real phishing emails, and also provide context. There might be they might know that you have a specific hobby, and so they send you an email specific to that hobby with some personalization in it, and you don't think twice about um, clicking the link to see maybe you're a car enthusiast and they send you something with a link saying, "Hey, this brand new car just came out, from Ford. Log in to whatever to access it." You might just not think twice about it when you see some personalization. So that's I rambled a little bit in my data hint. I would recommend keeping them shorter than that, but that might be something that I add as context to this. Um, but what I really wanted to show you outside of the WYSIWYG and building a template here is the import feature. So I am just going to go ahead and grab a template that I created. So what I've done here is I've just copy and pasted a template in here. This template was built from the one I showed earlier where I included that code in um, our understanding injected fields, or no, sorry, the guide to building learning moments. From that document, you could copy a template, the same template I used to build this, and then once you've built the template outside in a text editor, say Dreamweaver or Visual Studio Code or Atom or whichever one you prefer, you build your template and then you import that template. And this will take just a minute. There we go. And so this is my rendered template. We can see that I've got a few injected fields here. I've got first name, I've got huge future date. This template is mimicking an invoice, and the goal is to create a little bit of urgency in the end user that, hey, your credit card is going to be charged in the near future at the amount of $289.95. Would you like to review this transaction? So how this might be used, in a real phishing attempt is a cyber criminal might be looking to gain access to your Adobe profile. So the credentials, they want you to click, review the transaction. And when you go to log in to review the transaction, what you're actually doing is you're being taken to what looks like a login for Adobe, and you've entered your credentials. And you might just end up seeing a loading screen. Hey, it's not loading, but what's happened in the background is a cyber criminal has been sent your credentials because you entered them into a fake login page, essentially. And so that's what this phishing simulation is meant to mimic. And so some other injected fields here, you can see short future date, and I'll show how this is rendered. So this email, so email will populate here, supervisor email here. So, this could even, if somebody sees their email in here, they even see their supervisor's email in here, they might not think twice. Like I use Adobe. Maybe I've never gotten one of these before, but it's showing my supervisor's email in here, so it seems pretty legit. It's got all of the same style as what I've seen emails from Adobe in the past. So we move farther down. So I've imported my HTML template. Now I'm going to just add a subject line. Demo email is my display name. So those are the two fields that show up in the preview. When you're looking in your inbox, these are the things that'll stand out in the preview. So you want to make these, normally for an Adobe email, I wouldn't just write demo email. I'm just doing that for the purposes of this. So actually, let's get creative. Adobe invoice needs review immediately. Create a little bit of urgency here. right? And then this would probably just, coming from Adobe. And so Adobe invoice to kind of solidify that this is an invoice. And let's make it come from one of our domains, emails.notificationhandler.com. Learning moment is already assigned. I recommend leaving that on. Just to mention it, another known limitation is our video option, which essentially takes you can, instead of having learning moments, this would take you to one of a few training courses. We have not developed that much further. And so that's just what I call a known limitation of this tool. So I would advise just keeping on learning moment. Another option, just to mention it, is that if you want any of the links in the rendered email to go to a custom URL, say you are you host your own training of some type, that you want people who click on the link to end up going to your own training, you could put that training, if it's hosted publicly, or at least your users would be able to access it from their systems. You could add that custom URL in here. So if you'd prefer to use one of our templates, but defer to one of your own trainings of some type, you'd be able to do that using this custom URL drop down, or option rather. But for most purposes, or if you've created learning moments that you want your users to see, I would recommend just leaving it on learning moment. And then here we are at injected fields, right? So let me just show this again. Got first name, huge future date, short future date, and all of these fields and their values are listed in that understanding injected fields document that we will link after this presentation. So we got first name. So what makes sense? Let's bring their first name in. Let's bring in date. Sometimes they're hard to find. Short future date. And what huge future date actually does is it renders out a date randomly in the next 7 days, and it includes the day of the week and then the actual date along with the month. And then short future date just does like, for instance, today is the 15th of October, 2024. So it would be 10-15-2024. It doesn't include the day of the week. Let's pull in email, and then let's do supervisor email. And so supervisor email is one of the ones in here that has a default field. So most of my users, let's say most of my users don't have a supervisor email that's synced into their user profile because they've been added manually. So we could just add a default field here. So let's do demoemail.com. And so this is what would actually show up. Whatever value you put in here will show up in place of supervisor email if a value cannot be found from a user profile. And then let's make this, this one is related to financial, right? And it's a notification. So now we've given it some tags. How these tags work, they are mainly they can be used to search the catalog, but they're also used in continuous campaigns because continuous campaigns are built off of you selecting, which categories or tags rather that you want the continuous campaign to go and find templates to divvy up to your users. This is how it does. This is how it chooses. So you would apply whichever whichever tag like financial notification that you want to align with this template. So we got everything set up. I'm gonna hit create. And if your template was not able to, if there's something not right with the template, our tool will tell you, you'll get a notification in the top right corner that'll let you know which field is inaccurate. And if you want to go edit it, you could jump right back into it. Everything will show exactly as it was. It does take a second to render the template when it initially loads. But so if you wanted to go back in here and change any of these things, you could. One word of warning is that if you go and change this and it's in an active campaign, it will update in active campaigns. It won't break anything, but it will update the values if you change any of them in the active campaign. And same is said for, and I'll get to this, but if you were to delete this template, so you can see here you have the ability to preview it, clone it, share it, and delete it. If you were to delete this and it was in a campaign, it just means that if this template was in line, scheduled rather, in a continuous campaign or a fixed campaign, it just wouldn't be delivered because the template no longer exists. Share, what the share button will do is this will you've created this template in this company, but you want to actually, instead of recreating this in all the other companies that you might have under your partner, you want to just share it quickly across all of your other companies. You could share this and then it'll show up. So I'm going to share that, and it's now in my other companies under my Phin partner. If you clone this, it'll just create a duplicate. And so that's actually a really useful feature in the platform, because let's say, you just don't have the resources to build these outside of the template builder. You need somewhere to start, somewhere a little bit farther to start than just like the base template that I was describing earlier that I start from for all of mine. If you wanted to, you could go through our default templates. Let's say you find one that you really like the CrowdStrike ones. And so I'll just show this, right? So here's a CrowdStrike one. And you want to be able to use that CrowdStrike template. You want to copy it and just modify it a little bit. Or maybe you just want to change the values from it, the injected fields. You can clone it, and now it shows up in your templates. So now this isn't a default template. It's not being used anywhere right now, but you could go in and you could edit this template and change any of the values. You could change the template name. You can, I was going to say that you could go directly in here and modify this. I think you actually do have to do some of the modification outside of this. So you could take this, let's say you just wanted to change the text here, for instance. You could copy this text by opening up the code, copying this, pasting it into a text editor, and then just modifying the title, modifying the text that you see here. You'll notice here, like data step, data intro, data hint, right down here. You could modify any of these things outside of the tool and then upload it back into the tool to make your own. And so at least you have a starting point, if you are not comfortable just creating a phishing template from scratch. Did I mention all 4 of these? Oh, and then the last one would just be preview. So let's see, here's our demo plus one. That was Adobe. So this doesn't show a rendered template, but it just shows you in a web browser essentially what it'll look like without the fields, right? We don't have this aligned to any user right now, so it doesn't really have anything to render. But you can, at the very least, go and see, what fields, or what this would look like in a web browser, which is where it loads when someone clicks in an actual rendered one in their inbox. It loads into a web browser, but with the fields, showing values that align to that specific user. And then last but not least, I'm running a little bit long. I have 8 minutes left. So I'm going to make the next part pretty fast, take 3 minutes, so we get at least 5 minutes if there's questions and answers. But I wanted to show how you would test one of these. So if you wanted to, let's say I created my demo template plus template, that's my Adobe one, and I want to send this to myself and see what it looks like. You could go into training, you would go into phishing, you go to you could just put anything in here for the purposes of just testing. You could put anything in here because we're not actually going to schedule a campaign. You're going to keep it on fixed length. And when you go next, we're going to skip past audience and we're going to go right to select templates. So you can see my new template here right at the top. I'm going to go hit plus, which is what I would normally, this is what I would do if I want to add it to a campaign I'm going to schedule, but we're not scheduling a campaign. So we're going to move down to publish options. So if I want to run a campaign, I could do launch campaign. If I want to save this and launch, and by save it, I mean save this campaign as a preset for use in the future, I would save and launch. But what I want to do here, just because I want to see what this looks like in my inbox, I'm going to do run a preview. And then I would add in the email address and of the user that I want to send this to. And you go down and you hit run preview. And when you do that, takes about 30 seconds. The template that you created is going to show up in your inbox, so the inbox that you sent it to, and it's going to show up rendered with default values. It's not aligned to a user, it's not pulling from a user profile, so it can't actually pull in real values for somebody. But we do have are default values and example values that will put in values in place of those injected fields. So at the very least, you can see what it feels like. And then you can navigate, you can click into the email and it'll show up in the LMS and walk you through the data steps. And that's how I review and test them. And then if I find anything wrong with the template, something I didn't, I accidentally put in there, or the data steps, for instance, are out of order, you can go back to the drawing board, rather go back into your HTML file, make the changes, re-upload it, and then preview again. And I repeat that process, basically until it's the rendered email looks like I want it to look in my inbox. And also, the data steps and the data intros and hints are populating and completing the way that I expect them to. For the purposes of just not showing my inbox in a demo, I would direct anybody who's curious to do this themselves to this section at the bottom of this testing templates. This will walk you through and actually examples and images of what this looks like. Has a little bit of a learning curve, but this is the exact process. I actually use our tool to create all the phishing templates, upload them, and then publish them to make them available to the rest of our. So I'm going to take a breath, and with that, I have pretty much wrapped up all of the content and phishing updates that I wanted to do in this webinar. We've got 4 minutes. If there are any questions that anybody has, I would be happy to answer those questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. Feel free to, anyone who has questions, drop them in the chat. Any questions that you have for Tanner or myself. But yeah, thanks so much, Tanner. That was an awesome update. While questions are being typed into the chat, I love that this tool, it's kind of like how Phin is, just in general, like how it's very helpful to have a very customized experience. Obviously, we have our default templates that are pre-existing that obviously you've created, but you have the option now to be as custom as you want and put those injected fields in with, supervisor's name and create that feeling, like you said, of like, wow, this feels very legitimate. There's my supervisor's email right there. There's my name. This feels like something I need to click on because that's, like you said, that's exactly what's happening in the real world with real hackers. So. And then also not having to create a special campaign for each template that you create, just assign it to a tag, it gets thrown in the rotation, and that automation kind of runs as it would, normally with our other templates. It gets thrown in there as well. So that's awesome. It's kind of the both sides of Phin, right? You can be as custom as you want to, or not, right? We have that automation to just allow kind of Phin to run as well. So. That's great.
Yeah, and to that end, I'm always looking for feedback on what type of phishing templates people want to see get added. So, to anybody who's like, oh, I have a great idea for a phishing template, like, don't hesitate to reach out to, Andrew, and send that information over. I love getting ideas like that, and future developments for that template builder would be just making it the ease of use for it. I know it's a bit of a learning curve right now, the state that it's in, but we're going to keep working on it and improving it so that eventually, hopefully, anybody would be able to come into this tool and use the WYSIWYG that I kind of showed there for a little bit to build advanced phishing templates just the same way that I do, but doing them externally. So that's one of my goals. And when the time comes, I'm excited to do another update once we have that to show off.
Yeah, love it. I'm super looking forward to it. Yeah, and just all the updates you shared have been awesome. I don't see any questions in the chat, so we can go ahead, and since we have 1 minute left, say that there are none for now. But as Tanner mentioned, I think all of our partners should have my email. It's Andrew at Phin Security. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. Ask myself anything. Send me questions that you have for Tanner. I'll pass them along to Tanner and get back to you. We're always happy to answer those questions, and like Tanner said, open to suggestions as well. It's really how we built our platform, is suggestions and improvements from our partners. So with that, I believe that's all we have. This is our bi-weekly Phishing Net partner webinar every other Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. So we will see you back here in 2 weeks. And thanks so much, Tanner. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. And I'll see you guys next time.
All right.